Welcome back to Words of Paradise. I'm your host, Leon Idle, and is it just me or has streaming gotten out of hand lately over the last several years? Used to, you had Netflix, and that was awesome. Netflix had a bunch of stuff, it was great. Hulu came on the scene, but it seemed more for TV, whereas Netflix was movies. You're like, alright, this is fine. But then we just started getting bombarded. Disney Plus, Apple TV, Crackle, Tubi, Verve, just like they kept coming and kept coming, HBO Max, and then once you started paying for all these services, you really were paying the same amount as to pay for cable, which is why it's led me to wonder if streaming is dying. And I'm not the only one who's wondering this, because according to this article here, why I'm switching back to cable TV from How to Geek. Well, as somebody I've not been thinking about getting cable again, mainly because I get all of my entertainment from YouTube and HBO Max, with some other streaming services for stuff I want to watch and cover on the channel. I can see why other people are probably thinking of doing so let's go through this article and see. Cord cutting, the act of ditching traditional cable TV, has been gaining popularity for over a decade. Streaming is great, but it's not the home run it used to be. In fact, I made the decision to switch back to cable. Streaming TV in the early days. The rise of streaming live TV services came at a perfect time for me. I was living on my own for the first time, and cable wasn't something I wanted to deal with. While Sling TV was announced, I was very excited and signed up immediately. Since then, I've used just about every streaming TV service you can imagine. Sling TV, Hulu Live, PlayStation Vue, RIP. Yeah, PlayStation Vue is garbage, man. YouTube TV. I even had YouTube TV for a small amount of time. I canceled that pretty quick. And some other smaller services. My experiences with most of these services has been very positive. The early days of streaming live TV was great. The channel packages were small and very affordable. Most services let you choose from add-on bundles to expand your channel list. It was pretty easy to get the channels you wanted without much extra fluff jammed in. So, I never, full disclosure, I never used a lot of TV streaming services, live TV stuff. Crunchyroll here and there to get live anime, but then found out that Crunchyroll is absolutely awful to, their Japanese creators and full of propaganda and woke stuff and don't actually do everything they signed up to do. Same with Funimation. I cut them after the Vic Mignogna bogus. So the only live TV stuff I ever really did was anime related. And I don't even know if you can call that live TV. It was just things would update as they came out every week. The point is, this might not be something I'm super familiar with because I'm talking about things like, Netflix and things that have, just the pre-programmed stuff on it. But we'll keep going. However, in the years since, I've watched as these services have ballooned in channel lineup, size, and price. This brings us to today, where streaming live TV is not much different than cable TV. Yeah, exactly. And not even live TV, just TV in general. Yeah, some people might want streaming services for certain Netflix exclusives or whatnot, but what's the last good Netflix exclusive? Wednesday probably didn't draw a lot of people in. It was a good show, at least a fine show, but I don't know how many new subscribers it got them. People would probably, just get Netflix, keep it, not cancel it, and then not end up using it for their new TV shows. Stranger Things Season 4 probably gave them a bump, but then after Season 4 is over, they probably cancel it. I don't know. Not a whole lot of new people probably signed up to stick around for Rings of Power when that was announced to be trash. Maybe House of the Dragon gave HBO a bump. Point is, I don't think we're seeing people sticking with streaming services based on individual shows when most of the shows turn out to be awful, and word of mouth and YouTube and Facebook and all these services, that social media sites that people use to talk about it just doesn't seem like a sustainable model. Back to cable. Sadly, I live in an area where Comcast is essentially my only option for fast internet. For a long time, I've had internet-only plan from Comcast and a couple of streaming services like Disney Plus and Netflix. For live TV, I typically get YouTube TV or Sling TV during sports seasons. Yeah, so this is somebody who's already only doing I'll use it, then cancel it, then use it, then cancel it. At this time of writing, my Sling TV has risen $65 per month to get all the channels I want. Dude, yeah, no, you basically should be paying for cable at that point. It's the same price for YouTube TV. This is not cheap, and it got me thinking about how much cable TV costs. I hadn't looked at it in a long time. To my surprise, I discovered I could save a whopping $30 per month, taxes and fees included, by ditching Sling TV and adding a TV package to my internet package. But I'll need a clunky cable box again, right? Turns out Comcast finally gives you the option to only use the Xfinity Stream app. Well, that's also pretty convenient. Now, I think Comcast is a trash company, so I would not do this. But, I mean, if you're going to save $30 a month, that is like over $300 a year. Yeah, it might be worth it to get Comcast and just stream stuff from your phone or whatever onto your TV. As much as I don't like Comcast, it was hard to pass up this deal. I could get the same channels I had, save $30 per month, and still watch it on my phone or smart TV, no extra hardware required. I never thought I would say this, but I'm a cable TV customer again. Yeah, and that's the thing. The streaming model is, if people aren't going back to cable TV, they're going back to piracy, if I'm being completely honest. I mean, people were already pirating movies and everything before, but then Netflix and Hulu came in, and they were really the only two, and they're like, look, $8 a month, and you can have all this. And you didn't have to go through the hassle, pirating, worrying about bad quality or viruses. It made sense. But then all these other additional services kept propping up. Paramount Plus and Discovery Plus and all the other pluses. No minuses, oddly enough. But yeah, the prices, just like the article said, start to balloon. So if people aren't going back to cable TV, a lot of them are going back to piracy. Which, I mean, I'll be honest, I'm not going to advocate for, but I also don't have a problem with. The only reason I'm not going to advocate for it is, well, it's on YouTube. You can't advocate for that sort of thing. So no piracy. Is cable TV better than streaming? It may sound like I'm giving cable TV a glowing endorsement, but that's not the case. This is more of a condemnation of the state of streaming live TV services. It's gotten to the point where cable TV is a more appealing option. Those early days of getting a small bundle of TV channels are long gone. Even Sling TV's smallest package has over 30 channels now, and these services are proud of that fact. That's what they advertise. It's a competition to get the most channels, just like cable TV. Yeah, the apple didn't fall far from the tree V on that one, did it? The last thing that was saving streaming TV for me was the ability to use the apps rather than cable boxes and awful TV guide interfaces. But now that some cable companies don't require you to use hardware, the benefit is gone too. I'm not happy about switching back to cable. I wanted streaming live TV to be better than it turned out to be. Unfortunately, it was probably never going to be the savior we thought it would be. All hail the cable companies. Yeah, and that's pretty much what it boils down to, is that the streaming model just didn't bring in enough money. It still doesn't bring in enough money. I mean, Netflix was in the red for years. Netflix was losing money on Netflix for a long time, several years. They only recently started actually making money. And that's, I don't know if that's going to continue, especially not with all these competitors, especially not when things like them going to an ad service and then no one using the ad service and them having to refund all the ad companies. Things like that keep happening. People keep canceling subscriptions over, the woke propaganda stuff they put in their shows. I mean, Netflix took a banger of a stock loss when Cuties came out, if anyone remembers that. Just so many instances, and that's just Netflix. I mean, we're not talking about the other streaming services either. Frankly, I don't really know the states of those services because they aren't talked about as much. Netflix is still kind of the king, with Hulu being, lumped in there next to it. But even Hulu is owned by Disney. Disney Plus has had immense issues. If you've been reading the news and find out that, Disney Plus lost a lot of money. There was billions, if not billions, several hundred million. But I'm pretty sure it was billions put into Disney Plus for things that turned out to not pan out. People blamed Bob Chapek, the CEO that recently got fired for his handling of Disney Plus. But Disney Plus, Hulu, and ESPN are all under the Disney umbrella. I don't know. Does anyone know anyone that pays for ESPN streaming? Like, maybe they do. I might not be a sports guy, but I've got friends that are sports people, and even they don't pay for ESPN. Worst case scenario, they find ways to watch it live on the internet in general, or just watch highlights and keep track of the game with like Twitter updates, because it's always in trending on Twitter. So what reason is there to keep streaming? I mean, for me, it's to keep watching egregious shows so I can get content. But other than that, I don't see a reason. I really don't. I don't think a lot of people do. Streaming has become so competitive. And normally people talk about, and I'm a capitalist. I agree that, the market and competition is good. But overinflation of a certain product, yeah, the saturation of the market is bad. You need competition without crossing the line into oversaturation. And that's where the streaming model fell apart. We now have an oversaturation of services that no one wants a whole lot of. Like, oh, there's one or two things on Netflix I want to watch, but is that worth $8 a month? There's one or two things on Disney Plus I want to watch. Is that worth $11 a month? Like, however much these cost. And yeah, I'm happy with HBO Max. I truly am. Mainly because I love watching the Lord of the Rings trilogy and Dune to fall asleep. They're just visually beautiful movies with not a lot of super cringy dialogue. That's just nice and peaceful to fall asleep to. And then I use Hulu to watch Futurama to go to sleep because I've seen the show so many times I can roll over and still have it playing in my head just by hearing it. And then that's it. I use YouTube for everything else. Why even have all these other services? So yeah, I can genuinely see a world where people start switching back to cable, especially if cable gets its marketing game up. But maybe that's just me. I want to know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments below, or by all means, let me know on Twitter at BoltTheWord, because this is interesting. We might be seeing a bit of a regression in the technological market when it comes to how we consume our media, and I want to know what you guys think of that. Did this article do anything for you? Well, that's all I got for this one, but please subscribe. I'm really trying to grow this channel in 2023. It would mean the world to me, because we don't always talk about woke Hollywood stuff. Sometimes genuinely interesting things that I never would think of pop up like this, and maybe it'll give you new insight as well. But until next time, this has been Words of Paradise.